Jema. So welcome to Tuesday night Kali Maa studies. I am Kalavati Devi, otherwise known as Christie Smirl, and we are on our 7th month now of looking at the devotional 1008 names of the Holy Mother, Kali Maa. So tonight we're going to be going over let's see what verse we're on, verse 29, names 212 through 224. So before we begin, let's go ahead and set our sacred mindset and give prostrations to the Holy Mother's Son, Ganesha. Bring your hands to heart center. Om. Om. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Ekdantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tano Dantihi Prachodayat. Om Namo Bhagavate Ekadam Sraya Hasmukaya Lambodharaya Uchistamahatmane Om Krum Rimgege Swaha. Jema. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Jema, thank you for joining, everybody. Jema, Katyani, Betta, glad you were able to join. And Jema, Bhumi. Jema, Josette. All right, so tonight is verse 29. We're in month 7 now, and we're going to be covering names 212 to 224. So let's take a listen to what the verse sounds like tonight. And as usual, I put the description, the actual verse, in the description of the video and also in the comment tonight. So leave me a comment if you're here. All right, let's look at the verse first before I get too far ahead. So it's Nītiḥ sunītiḥ surucistuṣṭiḥ puṣṭirdhṛtiḥ kṣamā vāṇī buddhirmahālakṣmīrlakṣmīrnīlasarasvatī. So you might recognize a few of those names just from hearing the verse. Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi, Nīlasaraswati. So let's go ahead and look at each name individually. Jema Kalaratri, Jema. All right, so name 213, Nītiḥ. And this means she who is systematic knowledge or method. Systematic knowledge or method. So Nītiḥ, if you just look at the word N-I-T-I, and it's got an H on the end, means conduct, method, strategy, or righteousness. And so Nītiḥ is Kali Maa, who is righteous in knowledge. Now the next name is very similar, sunītiḥ. And we've looked at the word su before, which means good or excellent or fantastic, right? So sunītiḥ is she who has excellent systematic knowledge or method. Now it also means things like, when you just look at the word, it means excellent conduct, policy, manners, even morals and ways. And when we see this name, we recognize that even though sometimes the ways of the Holy Mother are mysterious to us, obviously she's mysterious, that she has a righteous, systematic way that she's approaching things. And we've used this analogy before. Sometimes a child is like, but why? To the parent, but why, right? Like, oh, you're so mean, or this isn't what I want. But we have to recognize that when we fully surrender to the Holy Mother, that we need trust and faith in the systematic knowledge. All right, let's take a look at 215. Suruci, S-U-R-U-C, H with the dot underneath it. So this means she who is excellent taste, not tasting like something to eat, but like having refined taste or good taste or eloquence and elegance. Now, su, we already know, means very auspicious or good. And ruchi, suruchi, ruchi means desire or splendor or brightness. So she who has great splendor or beautiful brightness, auspiciousness. Now, suruchi is also a synonym for Lakshmi. And we're going to be touching on Lakshmi tonight. So it's all within the same verse. And we know already, for those of you who have studied this form of the mother, that Lakshmi brings prosperity, abundance, beauty, and divine blessings. So the next name, 216, is puṣṭirdhṛtiḥ. Puṣṭirdhṛtiḥ. And this means she who is satisfaction. Or tuṣṭiḥ, if we look at the word, means contentment, like santosha, or fulfillment, gratification, inner peace. So tuṣṭiḥ is the Holy Mother that brings us to the capacity where we can have divine satisfaction, divine happiness. You know, because we can go for any kind of material desires in this world, and yes, it makes life easier. But what is the ultimate goal? To have that divine spiritual contentment. All right, let's look at name 217, puṣṭiḥ. So we had tuṣṭiḥ, now puṣṭiḥ. So puṣṭiḥ is she who is nourishment. And we know that it means more than nourishment like food, but puṣṭiḥ means to have growth, prosperity, abundance, sustenance, and fullness. I like to think of this not just surviving, but thriving. Puṣṭiḥ, the form of the Holy Mother that brings us this divine fullness, divine satisfaction and nourishment. All right, name 218, dhṛtiḥ. So dhṛtiḥ, the word itself means steadfast, maintaining, preserving, courage and determination. And dhṛtiḥ as the Holy Mother is she who is constantly solid. So one who has a high level of determination and perseverance, we say this is dhṛtiḥ, or a form of dhṛtiḥ. All right. The name that's attached to that is also kṣamā. Kṣamā. And this means she who is forgiveness. So a lot of times when we're doing the names of the Holy Mother, we say, Ya Devi sarve bhuteshu kṣamā rupena samstita namastasye 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 namo namaha. And kṣamā means forgiveness, to have patience, to have compassion. Kṣamā means to have compassion. And forgiveness is a tricky thing because sometimes we think that this form of compassion, to forgive, is to forgive the other person, not to make what they did correct, not to say that we haven't drawn a line or a boundary, but compassion for ourselves also, to not carry anger, resentment, and grief internally. So the compassion goes both ways, but I have found in life that forgiveness is more about my own compassion, to have compassion for myself, and then I'm able to have compassion for the other person and forgive them, regardless of the wrongs. Now, when kṣamā is personified, when Kali Maa herself is personified, she is for bringing the conquering of resentment, to conquer anger, and to defeat the asura of regret to allow healing and grace. So that's a lot to take in for just the word kṣamā, forgiveness, because forgiveness we could talk for an entire class over. And when we look at Kali Maa, they say that she embodies the perfect unfolding of the present moment. So the perfect unfolding of the present moment. And when we unfold in the present moment, we start releasing anger, resentment, etc. from the past, even if it was just 10 minutes past. And we start living in the now and not holding on to those things that confine our energies and pollute our minds and hearts. So kṣamā. All right, name 220, vāṇīs. Vāṇīs. This means she whose words, at least that's what the puja book says. Vāṇī is speech, voice, words, or just sound. And Kali Maa embodies eloquent expression, communication, and teaching. So when we want to really have a meditative concentration on embodying the mother as somebody who can be eloquent, who can speak with, a good communication, we often look at forms of the mother like Kali Maa, or as we'll talk about tonight, also Saraswati Maa. All right, name 221, Buddhi. Buddhi. Those of you who have studied Ayurveda, some of these terms are familiar. Tushti, puṣṭirdhṛtiḥ, Buddhi. Buddhi in itself means discernment. But Buddhi Maa is she who is intelligence. It is she who has awareness, discernment, higher perception. This is one reason why I always go into a state of faith with the mother, because she has a higher level of discernment, transcendental discernment. Whereas, if I don't have trust and faith, I'm in fear. We can't have trust and faith with fear. That's opposing each other. So Buddhi, she who is intelligent. And when we have faith in the mother, we have faith that her divine plan is possibly greater than we can understand. And when we work through yoga, we yoke our minds, our human minds, to that higher divine knowledge so that we can have that greater degree of faith and trust. So the word buddh, the root, means wake or know or to be aware. So the form of the Holy Mother, who is higher perception, understanding, discernment, and awareness. All right, here's some fun ones. 222, Mahalakshmi. Mahalakshmi, we're going to cover Lakshmi and Mahalakshmi. So let's go ahead and start with Mahalakshmi. So Mahalakshmi is another name of Kali Maa, and it's she who is the great goal of existence. That's what the puja books say. But let's break down what Mahalakshmi represents. So first of all, there's Lakshmi and Mahalakshmi. Mahalakshmi is the transcendental primordial form of the mother who sustains creation. You normally understand Mahalakshmi as the personification of supreme fortune, transcendental fortune, and liberation, spiritual liberation. And typically you see Mahalakshmi with Mahavishnu, the great preserver who maintains balance and cosmic order. So I had a couple pictures downstairs. This is one. Obviously, this is not my art tonight, but this is an image that we have here of Lakshmi and Vishnu, or Mahalakshmi and Mahavishnu. And some of the beautiful iconography you see with Mahalakshmi here is that she's holding the lotus flowers and her hands are held out in blessing boons. One is down and one is slightly up. Now, we understand that Mahalakshmi in this form of Kali Maa is also known as Shri. Shri. Some people say that's just a bija mantra, but it's a name. Shri. And Shri, the word, the name, and the personification is spiritual fulfillment, spiritual wealth. And Mahalakshmi, if you see different pictures of her, she often has 8 hands. Some people will say, how do I know if that's Lakshmi or Mahalakshmi? And one of the sometimes clues is that Lakshmi has 4 arms and Mahalakshmi has 8 or more. So in her 8 arms, she has a pot that's holding the nectar of immortality. In this particular picture, we have a pot down here on the ground. And what is in that pot? It's the nectar of immortality, the amrut. She's also seen holding the lotus. Sometimes multiple hands are holding the lotus, and that's for spiritual beauty, divine grace, and blessings. Sometimes we see her holding a mirror. A mirror. And the mirror is to reflect the truth back to us, and so that we can see our own reflection and deflect away negativity and obstacles. Somebody was asking me about this the other day. How does a mirror deflect negativity? Well, first of all, we become aware of negativity by looking in a mirror. But in some ways of protecting oneself, it's very common to place a mirror, a small mirror, like in a problematic corner of the house or a problematic external area of the house to deflect negativity away. But when we see Mahalakshmi holding a mirror up to our faces, she's not looking at herself, she's holding it up so you can look at yourself. Then we're able to see and recognize, oh, this is a quality that I would like to polish up so that I can have that spiritual fulfillment, that tuṣṭi. Okay, she's also seen holding a book, knowledge, they're the Vedas. A conch shell, which represents the primordial sound of creation. And also when you hear the conch shell, it's like, oh, righteousness is on its way, like, whoo! And then it shakes up all the energy and lets you know that there's something very divine happening or very powerful happening. The Sudarshan chakra, sometimes you see in her hand, it looks like a disc on her finger representing time, but it's also a weapon that's used. Number 1, it's used to defend, but it's also used to throw and cut and sever. A couple of the things that Mahalakshmi is well known for having: a mace, representing strength and authority and the ability to hit and overcome obstacles. And then lastly, a very classic thing that you see, the Holy Mother with a kagda sword, so a curved sword to cut away ignorance and evil forces. We've talked about this one before. Okay, then we get into name 223, which is Lakshmi. So we have Mahalakshmi and Lakshmi. So another picture of Lakshmi that I found downstairs is this one. Obviously not my artwork. And this you can see, again, we have the lotuses in her hands. We have the hand in Varada, blessing, the hand up in Abhaya, no fear. And we have a tray of coins here. Notice she's inside the lotus, inside the lotus pond, and these elephants are bathing her with buckets and kalashes of water. So Lakshmi, as a name for Kali Maa, in the puja book it says she who is the goal. But let's look at the term and manifestation of the Holy Mother as Lakshmi a little closer. So Lakshmi, we know, is the goddess of wealth, money, fortune, success, but also inner success, inner wealth, spiritual liberation, as well as things like beauty. She's always visualized as very young and pristine in her appearance. They say that Lakshmi grants our passage for the 4 aims of life. So if you've studied yoga theory and philosophies, as well as Ayurvedic philosophies, you've heard of the puṣṭirdhṛtiḥ, the four aims of life. So we have dharma, artha, moksha, and kama. I think we've talked about this before. So dharma is, your duties in life, not just like taking out the trash, but the greater picture duties. And then we have artha, your resources, your wealth, your ability to be fulfilled. And then we have moksha, spiritual liberation, and also kama, enjoyment, right? Enjoyment. And so she's the embodiment of the puruṣaर्थas. Now, Lakshmi is also considered the removal of obstacles to success and good fortune. Kṣamā, Maa, eternal of stitchery, Kṣamā. And when we see Lakshmi, it's very obvious. She's got these gold coins oftentimes coming out of her hands into a big pot or plate of gold. But it's not just about the material money. It's about how happy are you internally? How content are you spiritually? How content and resilient and happy are you on the inside? If I was to take a sneak peek inside your mind, your heart, and your spiritual centers, and I was able to listen to your inner thoughts, would it be a happy place? Would it be a good place to visit? Or would I run and say, oh no, I don't want to be here? And so when we think about Lakshmi, we also want to think about the beauty and the order and the contentment internally. Now, Lakshmi is very widely celebrated as a form of the Holy Mother. So we see her celebrated on Diwali, the Festival of Lights. We see her celebrated during Navratri, the 9 nights to celebrate the goddess, which comes 4 times a year. And also her special day, Friday, Venus. Now, we also know that Lakshmi arose during the churning of the ocean. So the Samudra Manthana, known as the churning of the ocean. There's a long story, I think I've told it before, where the Devas are pulling on one side and the Asuras are pulling on the other, and they had to take Mount Meru and put it on top of the tortoise's kurma's shell and bring it up into the water. And there was this, we don't want to work together, but the Asuras and the Devas had to work together. So they were churning the ocean, right? And some of the first things that came out was like hala hala, poison. But one of the other things that came out was the goddess Lakshmi. Rarely do people talk about her twin sister, Lakshmi, who also came out during the churning of the ocean. Okay. So name 224 is Nilasaraswati. Nilasaraswati. So let's break that down first. Nila means dark or blue. Oh, I didn't know that, Katyana Beth. Ah, Lakshmi, what an auspicious name. Auspicious name. All right, so Nilasaraswati, we have the form of Kali Maa, who they say is the blue goddess of knowledge. Nilasaraswati is an embodiment of Kali who destroys ignorance and ego to bestow knowledge. And Nilasaraswati is also known as Blue Tara, or some people understand her as Kamakhya also, although the iconography can be dramatically different. So she is dark blue in color, Nila, dark and dark blue. She is seen as fierce. So Saraswati is never seen as fierce. She's always smiling and happy and giving prosperity. Whereas Nilasaraswati, Saraswati herself, the goddess of knowledge, is usually seen very happy. But Nilasaraswati, she's wearing the garland of skulls. She's wearing a tiger skin. She's holding the kartaka shears to cut like big scissors, the curved sword, the kagda sword, to sever illusion. And she has, of course, 3 eyes, and she's got the classic protruding tongue. And Nilasaraswati in this form is also standing on a corpse on top of a burning funeral pyre. So we really have to wonder what we're asking for when we start working with Nilasaraswati, when we start pondering, this form of the mother, and would this be a good form for me to work with? We want to look at the iconography. Or are you better suited to work with Lakshmi for spiritual prosperity, inner beauty, happiness, contentment, or Mahalakshmi in the more transcendental form? Because it's these forms that bestow buddhi, intelligence, and discernment. We know that about Saraswati for sure, but also Lakshmi, vāṇī, eloquence in our words, our speech, our communication, kṣamā, the ability to forgive not only ourselves but others, dhṛtiḥ, the ability to be steadfast, maintained with perseverance, puṣṭirdhṛtiḥ, to have that internal abundance, that sustenance and fulfillment, to have tuṣṭiḥ, satisfaction, santosha, joy, internal joy. Like I said, if I came in and I looked inside your mind, what would it look like? And then we also have suruci, excellent in elegance, and sunītiḥ, systematic knowledge, and nītiḥ, method. So our verse for tonight, Nītiḥ sunītiḥ suruci tuṣṭiḥ puṣṭirdhṛtiḥ kṣamā vāṇī buddhirmahālakṣmīrlakṣmīrnīlasarasvatī. So I thank you all for joining me this evening and looking at each of these names bit by bit by bit and asking ourselves, who is Kali Maa to us? Why do we look at these 1008 names? Because these are all qualities that we want to strive for, perfect, integrate, but to also recognize that if we are looking for these qualities, we can go to the Holy Mother in prayer, in devotion, and say, Ma, I really want to work on contentment. I really want to work on discernment. I really want to work on, liberation. And to know that the mother is the source of that energy. We just have to be willing to do the work, right? All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Jai Maa, Jai Maa, Jai Maa, Jai Maa. I will see everybody next Tuesday, same time, 6 o'clock. If you didn't already subscribe so you can catch all of them. And also, I've put a whole playlist together on my YouTube station. So if you just want to hit play and go through all the different names, catch up or review, they're in a whole playlist in the playlists. All right. Good night, everybody. Jai Maa.